Okay, so a question I often see asked is how do I save and load my generated tile maps both in the editor and at runtime? So I'm going to show you how to do that, as well as showing you two separate ways to actually serialize and save your maps depending on what type of game you're making. So to, to start, I've just got my grid, and then I've got a ground map and a unit map for separation, okay? And to make your life easier in this process, I always recommend creating a base level tile script, and I'll show you how that works. Basically, it's just a class that derives from the Unity provided tile class, okay? And then I create just a little asset menu, create asset menu attribute here. And what that does is it just allows me to right click, create 2D tiles and just a new level tile. So I could call that tree or something if I wanted a tree tile, okay? And then in here, I've just got a enum about what the tile is. So I'm separating it here by the actual map type. So here I've got grass, I could add water, lava, sand, you know, whatever I want, and then units. And I always recommend assigning an integer value to your enums, because you could come in here and you could add, you know, a few more things like this. And then later on down the track, you could remove this like that. And if you have not set a unique integer to these, C# will do it for you. And if you remove this, this will actually shift the indexes. And in the editor, in the Unity editor, you'll actually, your enum values that were previously set will change. So that's something to avoid. So always set integers. And as you can see here, I'm jumping up 1,000. That's just so that I give myself enough growth, enough expansion growth to have 100 ground tiles before I run out. It's just a nice way to keep it organized. All right. So once you've got that sorted and you've created your tiles and in your palette, let's start actually painting. So I'm going to grab my grass tile, a little island, get my unit, put a Snorlax there, and then maybe a Harlequin there. So how do we save it? So what we'll do is we will create a Tilemap Manager. And I've got a Tilemap Manager object here, so I'm just going to slide that on there and then open it up. So what do we need in here? We need a few functions. We need a save map function. We'll have a clear map function just for ease of use. And then we'll also have a load map function. So let's work on saving first. What we will do is we will grab two references, and that will be to our tile maps. Oops, tile map. And it will be our ground map. And then we've got a unit map. You'll add additional maps depending on what you need. And we'll have a integer here that will tell us what the level index is that we're trying to save. So we might be saving level 1 or level 2. Now we need actually something to save. So let's create a new script, and it will be a scriptable object. And let's call this scriptable level, and open that up. We can delete this stuff. Let's turn this into a scriptable object. And we need a few things here. We will have an integer, and this will be our level index. We will have a list of tiles, but we don't want to be saving just the tile, because we need to tell Unity where the actual tile has been saved, right? So we're going to create a new object here, and it's going to be a public class saved tile to keep it nice and simple. And this will have a vector 3 int, because that's what the tile map system uses. And this will be position. Also, this will have a level tile. Okay, so basically all we're saying here is this is our tile and this is where we want you to save it. So here we can say a save tile, and this will be our ground tiles, like that. And then we'll just copy that, and these will be our unit tiles. Okay, so nice and simple. So then across at our Tilemap Manager, we want to create a new scriptable level, and we can do that by script. Usually you'll create like a asset menu thing here in the same way that I did here, and then you manually create these scriptable objects in the editor. But what we're going to do is we're going to create it via script. Okay, so new level, and we're going to be invoking the actual factory method of scriptable objects called create instance, and it will be of type scriptable level. Okay, so we've just created in memory a version of this scriptable level, and then we need to assign stuff to it. So, okay, so level index, we will assign that to our level index, which is right here, which you'll be setting in the editor. We'll also, whoops, new level, we'll also set its name, and let's call it something like level index, as that seems to make sense. Next up is to set our actual tiles. So to do this, we need to loop over our tile map, check to see if there's a tile in that position, check what type of tile it is, and then we need to create a new saved tile object so that we can place it in the list here. Okay, so let's just comment that for now, and we'll create a local function here that we can use for all the maps. Okay, so this will return, this will be an enumerable, and it will return a save tile, get tiles from map. Okay, and this will take in a tile map. Now to grab all the tiles from a map, Unity does it a little bit weird. So I'll show you how to do that. We go map, cell bounds, and all positions within. And basically this is just a vector3 int, I believe. Yep, so basically it's taking all the positions, regardless of if the tile has been filled or not, and it's just returning a position. So it's gonna calculate the bounds and just iterate through them. So what we need to do first is we need to say if map has tile, and then we send in this. If it does, cool bananas. So now that we know that there is a tile, let's actually grab the tile. So this will be a level tile because we're going to cast to it. Map, get tile, and we'll use this generic one so that we can actually cast it to a level tile. And we'll just send in the position there. Okay. So now that we've got our level tile, we can actually say, okay, well, what sort of type it is, all right? And we can grab whatever information, like right now, we've just got this, and it's absolutely bare basic. So in the future, you'll add additional things here, like additional logic, you know, is it rotated, all this kind of stuff. But for now, we've just got that. Now that we've got our tile, we can return it. So yield return new save tile, and the position will be equal to pos, and the tile will be equal to level tile. Okay, so now that we've got this function, we can now say new level.ground tiles equals get tiles from map, and we'll send in our ground map, and this needs a list to properly be serialized. Next, we'll do our new level.unit tiles equals get tiles from map. This time we'll send in our unit map and to list. All right, so now we've got our scriptable object. We're setting its index, its name, and the tiles. So now we need to actually save the object, and I'll show you how to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to create a little class that should only be in the editor, and that's because it won't actually work in a built product. So what we need to do is set a conditional statement here. If we're in the Unity, Unity editor, we will run this. And in here, we will create a public class, and we'll call this scriptable object utility, something like that. And let's actually make that static. All right, next we need a little function that will actually save the assets. So let's call that level, save level file. And this will take in the scriptable level objects. And first we're going to say asset database, asset database, create asset. and this will be the level. And the path will be something like, it will be assets / resources, and I'll show you why I put it in the resources folder. Levels, and then here we will have the level.name.asset. Okay, so that's the path that we're going to be saving this physical file to. Next, we'll say asset database save assets, and then we'll give it a refresh as well. Force a refresh, and make that static, because it's in a static class. Okay, so now we can use that. Let's just grab that, and then down here we'll say save level file, and then we'll send in the new level. Oops, this will need the scriptable object utility that we just created. And there we go. So that should save the file. Now we need a way to actually trigger this from inside the editor. So let's create another script. Let's go back to the editor and actually create a folder called editor. And this is required to make custom utility drawers for this script here. I'd like to put some buttons here so that we can easily click it from within the editor. So let's create a new script, call this Tilemap Manager Editor. Okay, open that up, and we'll remove this, and this will be deriving from editor scripts. And then this here will be a new attribute, custom editor. And then here we'll say type of, and it will be of Tilemap Manager. And then here we'll be overriding on inspector GUI. Okay, in here we will say draw default inspector, which will just draw the inspector as it is already with, you know, the serialized objects. We will grab a reference to our actual Tilemap Manager script. So let's just say the script, and here we'll cast this to a Tilemap Manager. Just target. So target is the actual script object that it's attached to. And here we'll say if GUI layouts button, and then here is just the name of the button. So this will be save map, like that. And from here we can say script save map, and that will actually call the attached Tile Manager script and run this function here. So let's try that out. All right. As you can see, we've got our save map button here. I'm going to put in my ground map and my unit map. Let's make this level 1 and save map. And parent directory must be created. All right. So what we need to do is we need to create our resources folder. And then we need to create, a level folder, levels. And now that should work. Save map. And there we go. So now we've got our level, and it is not serializing properly. Because I have not made this serializable. Okay, so that will force this class to be serializable in the editor. And let's try to redo that. So let's delete that level. Tilemap Manager, save. And there we go. So we've got our ground tiles and their positions. Okay. So now that we've saved it, let's make a convenient way to clear it. So with that, we can just say, let's grab all of our tile maps. And we'll just say maps equals find objects of type tile map. And then for each maps tile map, clear all tiles. And then in our editor again, we can copy this, and this one will be clear map. This one we'll call the clear map function. Tilemap Manager, clear map, and there we go. So now let's work on actually bringing that level back. So in Tilemap Manager, load map. So basically how this is going to work is it's just going to load whatever the level index we've got here. So this is going to be used for saving and loading, just for brevity. Okay, first we need to grab the level. So let's say level equals resources.load, and we'll use the generic method, and we'll say that it's a scriptable level. And then in here, we will say it's in the levels. This will automatically look in the resources folder, by the way. And then it will be in the levels folder, level, and then the level index. Now, this can actually be null if you entered a level index that doesn't exist. So let's actually check for that. If level equals null, we can say debug log, we can say debug error, and we'll say level index does not exist. And then we can just return, as we don't want to continue. All right, now we know our level is not null. Let's just clear the map, just in case there's any stragglers. So now we actually need to assemble our maps. So let's start iterating over our tiles. So this will be of level ground tiles, and this will be a saved tile. And then this will be in here, I'll have a switch statement, and it will be of type save tile, tile type. And then in here, I'm just going to generate what I've got. So these two here are not applicable as they are my unit types. So right now I've just got grass type tile. So what I want to do is just lay the tile in the position that the save tile is declaring. So what I'll do is I'll say ground map, set tile. Then this will be at position save tile dot position, and it will be of type save tile dot tile. Now just bear with me for a moment, and I'll explain why I do it in this kind of like convoluted way. So grab that, and now let's do it for our unit tiles. And now in our unit tiles, we'll have Quinn, and then we've also got a Snorlax, don't we? Okay, so the reason I do it this way, iterating over the tiles and then actually specifically checking what tile it is to do something, I know in this scenario right now, we're literally just doing the same thing, just setting down the tile. But for example, in your fleshed out game, when you summon an enemy, you might actually want to add this enemy to a list in your game manager or something. So you would first set the tile, and then here you would say, game manager dot this is not going to work well. Game manager dot add enemy or whatever, and then add the enemy in. Or for example, in your lava tile, you might not just want to set the tile, you might also want to spawn a particle system on the lava or something. So this is a way to give you that granular control over each tile. But as you can see here, like I've doubled up. So if you've got all enemies, or if you've got like 10 different ground types and they don't specifically do anything special, you can just stack them on top of each other like this, and they'll all just hit this case and then all do the same thing. So this is just how I do it. You can do it however you want, but this works well for me. Okay, and this should actually already do what we want it to do and load it all onto the map. So let's create a click for this in our tilemap editor. We'll do this, and this will be load map, and this will just call the load map function. So it will say load map, see if the level exists, clear any stragglers, and then actually generate the map. So let's give that a crack. So Tilemap Manager, level index 1, and load map. And I did something wrong here, which is here I'm actually setting our monsters to the ground type. And I actually don't like repeating this code. So let's create a little function here. Let's just say our own version of set tile. And this will actually take in the tile map and then the save tile. Like that. And we'll grab this, and we'll say map, and then this will just set the tile like that, and then here we can just say this will be the unit map, and we want to send in the save tile. Ground tile, ground map. Okay, so let's try that out again. So tile map, load, and there we go. It loads up to our correct tile map. We can clear the map again, and then let's say we want to create level 2, and I'll just draw something crazy out of Snorlax, tile map, save map. So now we can say level 1, let's load map, level 2, load map. And there you go, it's that easy loading your level in game. So see how I do this here, just grab the level like that. You could have in your level manager, load level, and then send in an integer value, all right, what level is this player at? And then just grab it from the resources folder like that, and then assemble the map just like this. And then there you go, you've loaded your level. Okay, so I've shown you how to serialize them into a scriptable object, but what if you wanted to offer a level editor in-game to your players? Like if they wanted to create their own levels like Mario Maker or, whatever, they can't exactly create actual files on the file system and then share those with other people. It's just not a logical way to do it. So what you could do is, instead of creating a scriptable object, you could actually just save the data into a JSON object and then just store the string in a database, which can be shared to other players quite easily. It's also a really easy way to push new content to your game without necessarily updating the game and sending these new scriptable objects into the new build. So it's actually quite easy to do, and I wouldn't actually recommend serializing this scriptable level object into JSON, but I'm just going to show you how to do it using this object. So we could just say JSON equals, and now that we've set all of our parameters here, all the tiles and the name and stuff, we'll just say, we'll use Unity's built-in JSON utility, and we'll say to JSON and just new level. So I'll just show you how that looks. Attach a little breakpoint, attach to Unity, and I will save this map. Now back in Unity, we can see this bigger serialization. Now this is not an efficient way to serialize your object if you're wanting to save it. At the very least, you wouldn't use a scriptable object. You would just use like a struct or something, and that will serialize down a little bit better than this. But and then also, because there's a lot of repeat words, you could even compress the string. An even better idea would be to create your own serialization method. So for example, instead of this whole thing here is one tile, you could say, all right, so this is tile type 1, and then here it is just the X and Y, because you don't need to actually show all that. You don't even need to show this is X, this is Y, this is Z. You can just say this is at position 1, 2, like that. And that could be your full tile serialization, right? And then the next one will be, the next one. And you could do a whole map of just that, and it will just be this tiny little string, which you could potentially compress even further. And then you would send that off to the database if it's Mario Maker, or save it locally if they're just still editing it. And then ultimately it's super easy for other players to go through a list of levels that someone else has made and easily just pull down a level with hardly any data transfer at all, really. Actually, while I'm at it, I'll just quickly show you how I would tackle doing this. So I'll just do it at the bottom here. So let's say instead of the scriptable level object, you have your own little struct. And let's actually say that it's got the same stuff as the scriptable level. Okay. And in here, it will have a function which will return the actual serialized string, and it will be called serialize. Now, I will be using a string builder, as that's the most efficient way to do it when you're constantly appending the strings. Now, the trick to this is you are setting little keys for larger words to basically compress it. So for example, first we're going to be doing the ground tiles. So on my builder, I'm going to append, let's say G, okay? And now, and this will be also an open bracket, let's say. So this is going to be G, the ground tiles. So now I'm going to say for each ground tile, say builder.append, and this will be, for example, the tile type. So the ground tile, ground tile type, and we can serialize that down to its actual integer values, which will be, this will be 0, for example, for the grass. And then directly after it, it could be, here we'll have a ground tile, position X, and ground, and another one of those, comma, ground tile, position Y. Okay. And then at the end there of the ground tiles, we can just say, all right, that's the end of the ground tiles. So then you do that for your units, and then other whatever else you've got in your level, and then just simply return builder.toString, and there you go, you've got your level. So now, instead of creating these scriptable levels like this, you would just create a new level, which is this object, assign the things like you did up there, and then instead of using this scriptable object utility to actually save it, you would just say new level dot serialize, which is this function here, and it would return the compressed string, which you can then send off to your database and save. So anyway, I hope this helped you. I know it was a bit convoluted, and I took a few tangents here and there just to teach you a few things, but this is how I do it, and it's worked quite well for me in the past. So if you liked it and you learned something, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.